What's going on, Bulls fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bulls Central. And on today's episode, we'll be talking about the Bulls' big game and how the bench showed up against the Houston Rockets last night. We'll also be talking about Coby White, some of the surprising contributions from the bench last night. We'll be breaking down everything right after this. All right, so there are going to be some key players that I'm going to talk about in this video, but I do want to start it off with Lonzo Ball. Lonzo Ball showing up big time for the Chicago Bulls in almost every area of the stat line. 19 points for those of you who've been calling for Lonzo to score more points. 5 rebounds, 8 assists, 5 steals, 1 block, and 2 turnovers. A positive plus minus of plus 17. This was a great game overall for Lonzo Ball. This shows the versatility. I've said before and called Lonzo Ball really a Swiss Army knife. And that is because anything that you ask Lonzo Ball to do, he can do to a degree. We even got to see Lonzo Ball taking some contact and finishing around the rim, which is one of the biggest things I've been saying that I would like to see Lonzo Ball add to his repertoire is more finishing around the rim. Now, he didn't do it at a high clip, but the key thing is that he showed that he wasn't afraid to put the ball on the floor and take it to the hole. And now those were good plays to see. There were times where he was bodied and still made the layup. The switching hands midair. We got to see a total package from Lonzo Ball tonight. 6 for 12 from the floor, 4 for 9 from 3. This was a great game from Lonzo Ball, especially in not having Zach LaVine and him stepping up. We also didn't have Alex Caruso for the most part of this game, who only played 6 minutes, went down with a mid-foot sprain, which hasn't been any official word yet on how long they may be expecting him to have an extended absence or not. So be on the lookout for another video once that news drops today. But outside of that, Lonzo Ball, this was a great game from Lonzo Ball tonight. Also, Nikola Vucevic, he didn't shoot the best percentage, 8 for 18 from the field, 2 for 8 from three-pointer. But again, a solid game from Nikola Vucevic. 18 points from him, 6 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 blocks. No turnovers from Vooch, and a very active defensive game from Vooch. When you looked at like Seguin, as I think how you say his name, a player that's really been compared to Nikola Vucevic a lot, he stood up. There were times, of course, where Nikola wasn't the best one-on-one defender, but we got to see a very active night. Now, there were some rotation issues from Nikola that bothered me, right? There was a time out in transition on the 3, Nikola didn't even try to go out there and really put his hands up to defend it. He kind of just took the shot. Now, they end up missing the shot, but that was a particular play that stood out to me. But overall, want to be honest with this. This was a solid game from Nikola Vucevic in the game that we needed him. But DeMar DeRozan, constant as ever. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on DeMar DeRozan. That's not to take him for granted, but DeMar did exactly what we expect him to do. 11 for 18, 4 for 4 from free throws, 26 points. Solid game as well. Overall, solid game from the Bulls, but let's key in on some of these players from the bench, and this is what I'm going to spend a lot of this time in this video talking about. Now, I do want to say I'm going to add the qualifier in here. It's one game for a lot of these players. They also were playing not the best competition in the Rockets that are 10-21, but we do want to break down and talk about some of the things that I noticed and that the feelings I was left with after this game. First of all, saw the thumbnail. Coby White, 7 for 15, 5 for 9 from 3, 5 from 5 from free throw. 5 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 turnovers from Coby White, but 24 points overall. This was probably Coby White's best overall game of his career. When you look at how active he was on defense, how he plays heads up on defense now. He rotated very well. He was getting in the passing lanes. Like, Coby White had such a good game defensively here that I would almost go on to say if he didn't score at this clip, I still would have said that it's one of Kobe's better games because of just how active and how intentional he was in defense. And we constantly are seeing that growth in him on defense, even when his shot's not falling. But a game where we get a big scoring night from Coby White. And this is why for everyone who is calling for Coby White to be what gets traded for what we need at the 4 while Patrick Williams is out, again, bench scoring is very important. We saw in this game how bench scoring completely changes the outlook of a game when you're able to not only defend other teams well, but and maintain a lead, but extend a lead with your bench. 66 points from the Bulls bench today. The best bench scoring that we've seen from this team all year. Matter of fact, the bench scored 31 points in the first half, which I think is the highest scoring game would have been the highest scoring game had they never scored another point in this game. But again, Coby White, his versatility and what he can when the shot's falling. If we can get I'm not even saying this version of Coby White, right? A game like this every night. But if we can get a Coby White who is now active on defense, who's playing smart on defense, but as well as knocking down shots, again, that versatility and what that brings to the bench is going to be key, and can be key. Now, I'm not saying that Coby's by any means untradeable. I'm just saying for what the Bulls need at the 4 and what they also need from bench scoring, we don't need to trade Coby White necessarily. I know that's not a thing that a lot of Bulls fans are going to agree with. A lot of Bulls fans have zeroed in on Coby White being the key or the main trade piece in the Bulls really fixing their hole at the 4. I don't necessarily believe that. Coby White, again, positive game from him, but I'm not going to spend too much more time on him either. I want to talk about 3 players in specific from this Bulls bench. That is Tyler Cook, Alfonzo McKinnie, and Dotson. These players, over 30 points from those players alone. Again, 24 more from Coby. But Alfonzo McKinnie, 6 for 10, 4 for 6 from three-pointers, and at 5 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 block, no turnovers, right? No turnovers, which is a key thing, and we know that how this Bulls team can turn the ball over sometimes. 8 turnovers overall from the game for the Bulls in this game. 8 turnovers, whereas the Rockets had 14 turnovers. But Alfonzo McKinnie's turning some heads, and I don't want to overreact to one game. Now, we've seen Alfonzo play very solidly, I think, in the 3 games he's played in a Bulls jersey so far. But I would be lying if I'm saying that if we consistently see this from Alfonzo McKinnie, all that talk about replacing Matt Thomas with him on the end of our bench, I completely understand. And not just on the end of our bench, him getting actual minutes and becoming a part of this rotation. I don't want to overreact to one game, right? I want to be clear. I don't want to do that. But I'd be lying if I didn't say that he's shown at least something in every game that he's played that makes it seem like, okay, maybe he does deserve to stay here. And I want to know what you guys think about that down below. What do you think about Alfonzo McKinnie being a permanent fixture on this Bulls roster and possibly letting go of a Matt Thomas or God knows whoever else? But what do you think about Alfonzo McKinnie? As of right now, I'm saying I'm very intrigued. Not ready to say for sure yet. I want to continue to see how he plays out the rest of this 10-day contract. But I would not be surprised if we end up seeing Alfonzo McKinnie be a permanent fixture on this Bulls bench. Next player I want to talk about, Tyler Cook. So Tyler Cook has been a large unknown, right? For me personally. I know he's bounced around a couple of NBA teams. I know he's been in the G League. You would think at his size of 6'8", 255, he could be ready to contribute on the NBA level. I'm not ready to say that he needs to be on the Bulls bench every game or get minutes every game. But like in the live stream that I said last night, I would not mind seeing Tyler Cook called up when the Bulls are facing teams with big front lines. The thing about Tyler Cook that surprised me so much is his agility at his size, that 6'8", 255 pounds. Him being able to move in the way that he did completely surprised me. There were times out there where he was moving like a small forward, and that showed its head and the proof in the pudding in him getting to the free throw line 8 times. He was 7 for 8 from the free throw. Again, one game. That's the qualifier here. I understand that. But that being said, seeing a big man move and be as agile as what he was in this game definitely has me intrigued because, as we know, big men who are agile can get to the free throw line. And again, I'm not saying that he needs to be our starter at the 4. I'm not saying that he even needs to play every game, but I'm saying that seeing more of Tyler Cook definitely has me interested. This guy, 11 points, 1 rebound, 2 turnovers. Again, that's that thing for being from being a young player. But in his 17 minutes, I would be lying if I didn't say that Tyler Cook did a few things that made me think I need to see more of this young man. Specifically, his aggression, like I said, that agility, the speed as well that he has. Now, again, he's not going to be outrunning any guards, but at that size, to have someone 6'8", 255 that was able to move this way, definitely interested to see what he can do against other teams. Again, qualifier of 1 game and against the Houston Rockets, which aren't a great team, but definitely interested to see more of him and to see how he continues to develop. If nothing else, this really does have me excited for the potential of Tyler Cook developing over this season to be maybe a bigger contributor on the Bulls bench next year, if not ends up being this season. But I would definitely like to see Tyler Cook get some more NBA minutes to really see what we have in him. Let me know what you guys think down below about Tyler Cook, this game from him. Would you like to see more from him? We're going to see more, especially while we still have players out. Don't know what's happening with Caruso now. Derrick Jones Jr., We'll see what happens with him and when he's able to come back at this point. But while we're in the midst of having a lot of players out in health and safety and other things at this point, I would be lying if I didn't say that Tyler Cook isn't somebody that I really like to take a look at. Next player I want to talk about, Devin Dotson. Now, he only scored 5 points, but he had a very active game in his 14 minutes on the court. And something that we haven't seen in Dotson's other times he came up to this roster is attention on defense. I don't know what Billy Donovan's doing. I don't know any of that, what these coordinators or how they're doing their defensive scheme, but it's working, right? We're seeing defensive contributions and activity from players who historically haven't been the best on that side of the ball. That's coaching. That's positive coaching. As much as people want to talk about the downside of Billy Donovan's coaching when he's not doing things that we necessarily as fans may want him to do or playing people the way we would want him to, the defensive activity, the team defense that we're seeing from this team consistently is nothing but coaching. Devin Dotson giving us a solid 14 minutes off the bench tonight. And again, Devin Dotson, not a player who's too old, who still has some room to develop. I understand why he's down there in the G League because the Bulls may think, hey, 22-year-old player, 6'1", we may have something in him. So we'll see what happens with Devin Dotson. But, again, solid contribution from him. And then let's talk about Tony Bradley, right? Let's round out this bench conversation talking about Tony Bradley. Tony Bradley giving us some good minutes this game. 15 minutes from him. He also had a positive plus-minus of plus 17. 1 turnover from him, 4 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 steal, 1 block, 8 points. This is the game that you want to see from Tony Bradley. This isn't the game you're going to always get. He still had some of his Butterfinger situations. He still had some of the times where there was a sequence in which it should have finished with a Tony Bradley hard dunk, but it didn't. Luckily, the Bulls were able to rebound, still get the points. But again, don't want to harp it on the negative. This was another solid game from Tony Bradley, really putting it together in 15 minutes. And that's the type of player that he can be and the contribution he can be. I don't ever see Tony Bradley necessarily being in a perfectly healthy roster situation of being an over 20-minute player, but solid minutes from Tony Bradley from here overall. The Bulls played a great team. A great brand of team basketball, not a great team because we know the Houston Rockets aren't that. But they played a great brand of team basketball. The ball movement, fluid out there. That's what you want to see from the team. I always say this team is more dangerous when the ball moves around with intention and we have that ball movement. We saw the Bulls score over 70 points in the first half of this game. And even though the score was a little bit closer than what the game really was over the course of this game, the Bulls led this game from start to finish. Yes, the Rockets did go on a brief run, but the Bulls usually responded to that run, pushed the lead back up to 20. A lot of the points, we did only get outscored in the fourth quarter, 35-28, but a lot of that did come in garbage time. So it is what it is there. This was a game that we wanted to see and needed to see from our Chicago Bulls to get a revenge game against the Houston Rockets. Next up, we got Toronto, which can be, and probably is going to be a very tough game for the Chicago Bulls. We'll see how this energy continues to define them. We'll continue to look at that bench and how they continue to improve and everything else going on. But this was a game that you can leave from feeling very good about so many things and so many players and how they play. Now, we need to see this level of activity continue. Again, we can't always expect the bench to score over 60 points, but just to have a solid and a consistent scoring effort from the bench can completely change the outlook of this team. Let me know down below who was the biggest surprise for you off the bench today. I'm not going to necessarily say Coby for me, just because we know Coby can have these type of games, even though his defense was surprising. But out of Alfonso McKinney, Tyler Cook, Devin Dotson, and Tony Bradley, who surprised you the most in this game? Let me know all that down below. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff as well. Like I like to end every video on. Go Bulls. I love you guys. Peace.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.